knowing the capability of your system before you're putting the noise into your mix is very important. Howdy, I'm Lucas Ivey, and I want to take you through the process that I use when I am in front of a sound system that I'm not familiar with. And not familiar simply means it's a system owned by someone else that I've never worked on before. They brought me in to do some mixing or to fix or repair something. It could be anything at all, but here I am for the first time, and I need to get to know the system and what's going on. So my first step is I remind myself that I have the rule, which is keep everything simple. I need it to be simple. Don't overcomplicate anything. Okay, with that in mind, I grab the headphone output, plug my headphones in, and I start cranking the knob up and down and seeing what's going on there in terms of signal to noise ratio, in terms of crackling, hissing, and popping as I'm adjusting the volume. I want to make sure that that headphone jack is putting out clean sound, clean signal. And if there is hiss in it, I want to know where it is, and I don't want to be cranking my headphones beyond that level. It's very important because it could be that, later on, if I haven't done this, I'm chasing noise down that actually isn't in the system at all. It's just in the headphones. So this is especially a problem with older analog equipment where the headphone amp gets noisy over time. And it might be a situation where you've got to clean that pot. But whatever the case, that's step one. Step two is I find the channel that is available. Nothing, it's not being used for anything. And again, that's part of my rule, keeping it simple. I don't want to be unplugging stuff and messing around. I haven't even started any work yet. So I find that channel, I mute it, I solo it, I listen to it in the headphones, and I do the same thing with the gain knob. The same thing I was doing with the headphone level knob. I start cranking it up. I crank it up all the way to the top, and I listen, I bring it back down to the point where the noise goes away, and I'm identifying what my headroom is. This is very important to know, especially when you're doing something like live streaming, where clarity and loudness are constantly competing with each other. I need to know the point of noise in the gain knob. So identify where that is, and I mark it. I will take a note, a mental note, or I'll actually write it down, don't ever turn the gain knob up past this level here. Okay, great. So now I know that's the case, and now I'll do the same thing. I'll compare it to something that has a microphone plugged into it, for example, or it's part of the system. And I'll see if I notice any differences in that channel compared to the one that has nothing going into it. And if I do find a difference, I'm like, okay, right away, well, maybe we've got a noisy snake here. Maybe there's some external, I've noticed that this channel has a bunch of inserts going into it. There must be a noisy effects rack. What's going on that makes the external gear coming in deliver this noise into the system? And at this point, of course, I'm paying attention to my signal to noise ratios, and I'm making sure that I have enough room to feel like I can create a quality mix. And a lot of times at this point, I stop and I have a conversation with the owner of the system. And, frankly, sometimes they're kind of blown away, what already about we haven't even turned it on yet. I'm like, I know, but I've done some tests. You watched me do them here, and, this is what I've discovered. Knowing the capability of your system before you're putting the noise into your mix is very important. It's also important to take note of, which of your wireless systems give you that ground hum sound when they're off and when they're on. Muting your mics on and off, turning them off if If you've got a wireless mic and the receiver's on and the mic's off, do you get a ground hum? You need to know all of these things before going into your rehearsal and live streaming time, because it's crucial. It's crucial to know that, hey, if you don't have that channel muted, it's going to put a hum into your mix. So you go through and identify all of your sources of noise, and you just take note of it. Okay, these are the ways that I can create noise. These are all the things I need to avoid at all costs. Now moving forward, you can look beyond the console. Compare the output of the console to the output of your external devices, your converters. When you're live streaming, the output of your stream. Look and listen for the differences there. Plug your headphones into a computer that's receiving the stream. Listen to that signal. Compare it to the signal coming out of the console. Identify what the differences are. Your first step is knowing where your noise, hum, snap, crackle, pops exist. And then the second step is knowing the alterations and changes in the colors of your sound as it's being processed going through your equipment. Once you have that foundation, you can start to make corrections. But if you don't even know what you don't know, you're going to have a hard time getting the quality and the clarity that you're looking for.